You know the songs, but do you know their history? Join us for an in-depth look at the stories behind the biggest songs in the world. This is Encore. The stories behind the songs.
Thank you.
Here's iHeartRadio's Miles Galloway.
Oh, no. Nice to have you back for another episode of Encore, the stories behind the songs you love. I'm Miles Galloway, and this is the story of Beyonce featuring Jay-Z, Crazy in Love. Let's go back to 2003. The world couldn't have been more ready for a Beyoncé Knowles breakout. Beyonce's group, Destiny's Child, was one of the most successful groups of the late 90s and early 2000s, and she'd made her film debut the year prior in the Austin Powers sequel, Goldmember, as well as contributing to its soundtrack. Yeah, groovy, baby. Remember Foxy Cleopatra? By late 2002, it was clear that Beyonce's solo star was ready to shine, with a feature on her at-the-time rumored boyfriend Jay-Z's hit 03 Bonnie and Clyde. Critics raved about Beyonce's feature on that track. It added some edge to Beyonce's more polished R&B sound at the time, and it gave Jay-Z some serious mainstream airplay. The video was sultry, dangerous, and played up to the pair's undeniable chemistry. The media were obsessed with the pair, but couldn't get an official confirmation on the relationship status. That doesn't mean they didn't try, though. Here's Much Music's Rick Campanelli trying his hardest to get the exclusive back in 2003.
Can I just bring up one thing, though?
Okay.
Jay-Z told us years ago he needed gangsta girls for his gangsta family. What makes Beyonce a gangsta girl?
What makes me what he need? How do you know that?
Well, I don't know.
Okay. So you're trying to trick me.
Now regarded as a classic in its own right, 03 Bonnie and Clyde hit number 4 in the US and Canadian charts and served as perhaps the perfect appetizer to the main course of what was about to come next for them both. Beyonce had actually been working tracks for her debut solo album, Dangerously in Love, at the time of 03 Bonnie and Clyde's release. Her label had originally plotted an album release in late 2002, but with fellow Destiny's Child member Kelly Rowland burning up the charts with her own smash hit Dilemma with rapper Nelly, and the lack of what the label perceived to be a hit song on the album, they delayed Beyonce's record multiple times, as to not mess with Kelly Rowland's success. Beyonce had a real vision for the album, no matter when it came out, telling Much Music's Rick Campanelli in 2003.
I wanted to be like a crooning album like the 70s. Those songs used to just make you feel, even if you weren't in love, you listen to the songs and you like, you know, that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to accomplish. Basically, if you're not in love, it makes you feel love. If you've been in love, it reminds you of it. And if you want to know how it feels, you should listen to the album.
And if you've lost love...
Exactly.
Bring it back.
Beyonce kept recording through the delays, and in sessions completed in early 2003, Crazy in Love was finally born. The song features samples from a lesser-known Shy Lights song from 1970 called Are You My Woman, Tell Me So, and was written and produced by singer-songwriter Rich Harrison, Beyonce, and Jay-Z, and of course features a writing credit from the Shy Lights frontman Eugene Record. Rich Harrison had produced and written the music to what would become Crazy in Love prior to meeting Beyonce and was being extremely protective of who should be allowed to sing on it. He agreed to meet with Beyonce because she was certainly the profile of a star that could do big things with his baby. Beyonce loved the blaring horns in the hook, the retro soul vibe of the instrumentation, but she was also nervous. After all, she was looking for a hit to establish herself as a serious solo star for the new millennium. So she challenged Harrison to come up with the skeleton of the lyrics and melodies in just 2 hours during his lunch break. By the time she returned from buying a gift for Kelly Rowland to add her own writing and creativity to the piece, she kept looking in the mirror and saying, "I'm looking crazy right now," mostly in reference to the outfit she was wearing, and the entire concept for what the song would become came to light. She helped Harrison write the iconic uh-ohs and the hooks, and the rest is history. As for Jay-Z, his contribution to the song is pretty much the definition of cool. The night before Beyonce turned her album into the label, he rolled up to the studio around 3 a.m. at Beyonce's request. He listened to the track, he loved it, and figured out his now iconic verses in about 10 minutes. It must be alright being Jay-Z. If Beyonce didn't have a hit on Dangerously in Love before the Crazy in Love sessions, she certainly did now. Released on May 14th, 2003, Crazy in Love hit radio airwaves just in time to be considered Song of the Summer. Fans enjoyed the continuity between Beyonce and Jay-Z's back-to-back releases together as well. If 03 Bonnie and Clyde was a secret and sexy romance, Crazy in Love was a loud proclamation of, well, love. And critics agreed. Khalifa Saneh of the New York Times wrote that Crazy in Love had an irresistible combination of triumphant horns and a wicked hip-hop beat, adding that Beyonce's vocals, as deft and accurate as ever, convey none of the giddy rush that the lyrics describe. Rob Fitzpatrick of NME called Crazy in Love a head-nodding and body-rocking funk-soul genius, and wrote that it's 100% stone-cold, dead-cert classic. As Rolling Stone wrote years later, the horns weren't a hook, they were a herald. Pop's new queen had arrived. Crazy in Love shot to number 1 on the charts based on radio airplay alone. Don't forget, these were the days of CDs, and although you couldn't technically buy it online on its release date, the iTunes store itself was actually only a couple weeks old at that time. And the more consumer-friendly iPod mini wouldn't even be announced till the next year. By the time Dangerously in Love, the album, dropped, the song began its 8-week domination at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It later spent 15 weeks in the top 10, 26 weeks in the top 50, and 27 on the Hot 100 in total. The music video, shot in LA and directed by Jake Nava, opens with Jay-Z delivering his opening verse in a car, cutting back and forth to Beyonce standing in the middle of the road, dancing in the now iconic outfit of a white tank top, jean shorts, and red heels. There's, of course, a glamorous rooftop photo shoot scene, some dance choreography, and, well, then Jay-Z sets everything on fire. Literally. The future husband and wife reunite in a burst of flames around the car while Jay-Z delivers his main verse with Beyonce writhing sensually around him, fueling even more "are they or aren't they" speculation at the time. They obviously were. Alleyway dance sequences follow, fire hydrants explode, and Beyonce closes with some final close-ups as the horns come back in. Beyonce described the video for Crazy in Love to MTV as a celebration of, quote, the evolution of woman, a girl that realizes she's in love and is doing stuff that she wouldn't normally do, but she doesn't care. She's just crazy in love. I don't really know if the video has quite enough of a narrative to it to exactly describe it that way, but it's kind of like a blockbuster action movie with all the explosions, the slick choreography, and the sexy fashion, but it certainly makes the huge statement it intends on making. Beyonce has truly arrived. In 2014, The Guardian's Michael Craig summed it up best when he said, quote, aware of how much of a statement the song was, the video is a checklist of icon-making visuals, from the locations, the dance moves, to the part where she makes bubble blowing look like the sexiest thing a human could do. Crazy in Love ended up winning MTV VMAs for Best Female Video, Best R&B Video, and Best Choreography. However, it lost the fan-voted Viewer's Choice Award to Good Charlotte's Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Maybe that'll be an upcoming episode of Encore. Although it didn't win Record of the Year at the following year's Grammy Awards, the legacy of Crazy in Love is legendary. Rolling Stone named it the greatest song of the century so far in 2018, and it also ranks at number 16 on its greatest songs of all time list. Noted hipster publication Pitchfork ranked it at number 4 on its list of the top 500 tracks of the 2000s, and NME gave it a similar honor as its top track of the 2000s in their vote. Some 13 years later, Beyonce, now a bona fide global superstar, stepped back into the studio to re-record Crazy in Love for the 50 Shades of Grey soundtrack. Slowed down and sparsely produced, Jay-Z is nowhere to be found on this version. Fitting with the adult themes of the film, one of the remix's producers called it, quote, almost more vulnerable and beautiful this way because you do crazy things when you fall in love. To hear the mood reversed and flipped makes it even more powerful. I wonder which version we'll get to hear in Beyonce's Renaissance concert film later this year. I'm Miles Galloway, and that was the story of Beyonce and Jay-Z's Crazy in Love on Encore, an iHeartRadio podcast.
Encore is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more great podcasts just like these.